Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the discography of the mighty band from Pasadena, California, Van Halen, ranking their albums from worst to best. Okay, so let's get started. Coming in at number 12, we have Van Halen 3, the only album to feature extreme vocalist Gary Cherone. Okay, my one complaint with this album, to be honest, is that Gary Cherone does tend to do a bit of a Sammy Hagar impression on it. Doesn't quite work. However, it's not a really bad album. I won't say that about it. Now, released in '98, I would say Without You is a good track. Fire in the Hole. I even quite like, dare I say it, the How Many Say I by sung by Edward. So, yeah, not a great album, but, you know, it is what it is. Okay, coming in at number 11, we have 95's Balance. Okay, this album, at the time, there was some trouble within the band camp. Sammy Hagar was thinking of leaving. All in all, things weren't great. However, there are some good tracks. The Seventh Seal, Can't Stop Loving You, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do. Yeah, an okay album. Not something I reach for time and time again, but it's a good album overall, but not great. So now we come into 1991's Thunderous for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. I'm not going to abbreviate. I think we can all understand what that equates to. However, released in 1991, this contains such outstanding tracks as Pound Cake, Judgment Day, Run Around, The Incredible Right Now. A pretty good album, and it's produced by Andy Johns and Ted Templeman. The sound on it is pretty excellent, raw, meaty. It's a good album. Okay, now then, coming into 1988, we have OU812. Now, this album was the second album to feature Sammy Hagar since David Lee Roth had departed from the band to start a solo career. Now, it's quite synth-driven. To be honest, I think the production is not so great. It sounds a bit too saturated. You know, it wasn't my favourite album, I've got to be honest. In fact, I will confess, I was that disappointed originally when I first had this album that I swapped it with a friend for Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. In the end, being the completist that I am, I got it back. Carbo Elbow is an absolute stunner of a track. Feels so good, love that. Sucker in a three-piece, Black and Blue. Yeah, pretty good album. Right, now we're coming in to number 8. And this is Van Halen's first album with Sammy Hagar, 5150. Brilliant album. I've got to be honest, I do like this quite a bit. It's got such classics as Good Enough, Why Can't This Be Love, Get Up, Dreams, Summer Nights, which is fantastic, Best of Both Worlds. A pretty good album with a complete new singer. Okay, my ranking, I'm afraid, for number 7 is going to be Diver Down. Now, this was released in 1982. I wasn't a fan of it, I've got to be honest, because to me it's got too many covers. It was 30 minutes long. It was a filler album anyway. Hang 'em High's pretty good, that's an original. Secrets, Intruder, Little Guitars. To be honest, yeah, that's all I can say about it. Okay, coming in at number 6 is the fantastic album that launched Van Halen really into more of the mainstream. 1983's 1984, the last album to feature David Lee Roth. Now, this album had, well, the absolute classic Jump, Panama, Top Jimmy, Hot for Teacher, I'll Wait. Absolutely superb album. Can't fault it. It's a classic. Coming in at number 5, a favourite of mine. This is 1981's Fair Warning. Now, this album is really raw. I think it was from what I understand, the absolute brainchild of Eddie Van Halen. Now, this has got the fantastic Mean Streets, Hear About It Later, Unchained, Push Comes to Shove. It's just a fantastic album. Underrated, I think. It's just absolutely wonderful. And I continually go back to playing Unchained. It's just an absolutely blistering rock track. Absolutely love it. So that's at number 5. Okay, at number 4, I have chosen 2012's A Different Kind of Truth. Now, this marked the return of David Lee Roth. I must admit, I was very, very pleased that David Lee Roth appeared with the band for which would be their very last album. After that, obviously, we all know Eddie Van Halen sadly passed away from cancer. So to have this album with the original guys back together was wonderful. Absolutely love this album. Not keen on Tattoo. However, I love She's the Woman, Bullet Head, Chinatown, Stay Frosty is very good. You and Your Blues. Brilliant album. Okay, so now we come into number 3, which is Van Halen's Women and Children First. Probably just their sort of having a fun type of album, I always think of it as. This was released in 1980, containing such classics and The Cradle Will Rock, Romeo Delight, Take Your Whiskey Home. Yeah, a great album, actually. A party album by Van Halen. Finding Their Feet. Wonderful. Absolutely great, solid album. Okay. Number 2 is going to be, funnily enough, Van Halen 2. Okay. Now, this was released in 1979, and it contained Dance the Night Away, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, the wonderful Light Up the Sky. Brilliant. Slightly more subdued, I think, than their debut album, but nonetheless a fantastic album and a classic Van Halen album. Classic sound, classic cover. Okay, finally, the number 1 spot. I think we all knew what it was going to be originally, didn't we? Anyway, it's Van Halen's superb debut album, simply titled Van Halen. This album, released in 1978, has got the incredible Eruption. I don't think anybody had ever heard guitar being played like this before. Eddie Van Halen, well, absolute legend, changed, the sound of guitar, really, from this album. So we've got Running with the Devil, Ain't Talking About Love, I'm the One, Jamie's Crying, Atomic Punk, On the Fire. This album is absolutely blistering with fantastic barnstorming tracks. I don't think, to be honest, there's a duff track on this album at all. So there you go, folks. That's my Van Halen ranking. Albums from 12 to number 1, from the worst to the best. This is only my opinion. Obviously, leave a comment and a like, subscribe. Perhaps tell me what you'd like me to do a ranking on next. Anyway, take care for now. I'll see you again soon.